Hello, I'm Sally and I worship at St Philip's Church in Scholes. Today's reflection is the parable of the 10 virgins, Matthew chapter 25 verses 1 to 13. At that time the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 of them were wise. The foolish ones took their lamps but did not take any oil with them. The wise ones, however, took oil in jars along with their lamps. The bridegroom was a long time in coming, and they all became drowsy and they fell asleep. At midnight the cry rang out, "Here is the bridegroom, come out and meet him." Then all the virgins woke up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish ones said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, our lamps are going out." "No," they replied, "there may not be enough for both us and you. Instead, go to those who sell the oil and buy some for yourselves." But while they were on their way to buy the oil, the bridegroom arrived. The virgins who were ready went in with him to the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the others also came. "Lord, Lord," they said, "open the door for us." But he replied, "Truly, I tell you, I don't know you. Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour." This parable follows passages in Matthew that refer to us not knowing when things are going to happen. He refers to Noah and the flood, to a thief coming into our house, and to a servant who took advantage of his master being away to misbehave. But unfortunately for him, his master returned early and he was caught out. How many of us have been caught out like that, especially when we were teenagers and our parents had left us home alone? The 10 virgins, or bridesmaids in our story, are on their way to meet the bridegroom. However, there's no mention of a bride or to any other guests, so the story cannot really be about the wedding. I think Jesus is telling us this parable to try and explain and to teach us something. All the girls looked alike, they all had lamps, they all had to wait for the groom who was late, all 10 of them fell asleep. At midnight, when they were woken and made aware the groom was coming, it was dark and they realised they were going to need their lamps to light the way. 5 of them have spare oil, 5 do not. 5 have prepared for their day and 5 have not. As we read this parable, my first reaction was to say, how mean, fancy not sharing your oil with the others. They didn't share it out at all. But if they had, none of them would have arrived in time to meet the groom, because all their lamps would have gone out halfway there. So the 5 with the oil met the groom and went on to the ceremony. The others went back in the dark to get more oil. By the time they arrived, the door was closed, and the groom, again I thought rather meanly, said, "You can't come in, I don't know you," and he doesn't let them in. Jesus is probably trying to teach us quite a harsh lesson. We have to be ready. We have to be prepared. We don't know what's going to happen. Imagine some friends are invited to a wedding in Scotland. One driver and his 3 passengers fill their tank with petrol. The other 4 think they have enough fuel to get as far as Scotch Corner, and they're eager to be off. 40 miles up the A1, the car with the full tank sees his friends on the hard shoulder with the hazard warning lights going. He pulls up behind them to see what the problem is. "We've got no fuel. Can you siphon some of yours off into our tank?" they say. "No way. We'll all be late if we do that." So he takes the driver up the motorway, drops him at the services to get his fuel, and then he carries on up the A1. Arrives at the wedding in time, and they all have a great time. The other 4, however, are 3 hours late. They've missed it. Maybe next time they'll check the fuel gauge and make sure it's full before they set off. Through this parable, Jesus is teaching us that we don't know when he will come again, and we need to be ready. We are all accountable for our own choices in life. We all need Jesus in our lives to build his kingdom on earth, but not all of us are realising that. If we don't act now, it might be too late. So let's make our choice now. Let's try and lead good Christian lives. Let's stay alert, trust in Jesus and save lives. Let's not be caught napping.